In 1922, a scandalous love affair led to one of the most sensational unsolved murder cases in American history. This is the story of the Hall Mills murders. To understand the Hall Mills murders, we need to go back to New Brunswick, New Jersey, in the early 1920s. This seemingly peaceful community would soon become the center of one of America's most scandalous and mysterious murder cases. Our story begins with two central figures, Reverend Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills. Edward Hall was a well-respected minister at the Episcopal Church of St. John the Evangelist. He was married to Frances Hall, a woman from one of the town's most prominent families. Frances Hall was known for her strong-willed personality and her devotion to her husband. However, beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect marriage lay a web of secrets and infidelity. Eleanor Mills, a member of Edward Hall's congregation, was a choir singer with a beautiful voice. She was married to James Mills, a janitor. Despite their modest means, Eleanor was known for her charm and vivacity. It wasn't long before whispers of an affair between Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills began to circulate. The two were often seen together, and their relationship was an open secret within the church community. New Brunswick, like much of America in the 1920s, was a place of social change and tension. The aftermath of World War I, the Prohibition era, and the evolving roles of women in society created an atmosphere where scandal could easily take root and spread. The Hall and Mills families lived relatively close to each other, making their clandestine meetings easier to arrange. Their affair, while known to some, remained largely unspoken of publicly until the tragic events of September 1922. Edward Hall's home, where he lived with his wife Frances, stood in stark contrast to the modest home of Eleanor and James Mills. The disparity in their social statuses added another layer of complexity to their relationship. As the summer of 1922 came to a close, tensions were building. Whether it was jealousy, societal pressure, or something more sinister, something was about to snap, leading to a crime that would captivate the nation and baffle investigators for decades. On the morning of September 16, 1922, the quiet town of New Brunswick, New Jersey, would wake to a gruesome discovery that would shock the community and ignite one of the most sensational murder cases of the era. 2 days earlier, Reverend Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills had gone missing. Their bodies were discovered under a crab apple tree in a secluded area known locally as DeRussey's Lane. The scene was both macabre and mysterious. Edward Hall's body lay on his back, his feet pointing toward the tree. Eleanor Mills was sprawled beside him, her hand almost touching his. Scattered around them were torn love letters, their illicit affair laid bare for all to see. These letters, filled with passionate declarations and intimate details, confirmed the long-suspected affair between the minister and the choir singer. But the letters also raised more questions than they answered. Eleanor Mills' throat had been slashed so deeply that she was nearly decapitated. She had also been shot in the head. Edward Hall had been shot once in the head. The brutal nature of the wounds suggested a crime of passion, fueled by intense emotion. The isolated location of the bodies made the crime scene difficult to access, further complicating the investigation. The lack of immediate witnesses meant that the police had to rely heavily on the physical evidence left behind. Investigators noted that there were 2 different calibers of bullets used, indicating the possibility of more than one assailant. This clue pointed to a conspiracy rather than a single enraged killer. News of the murders spread rapidly, and the crime scene quickly became a spectacle for curious onlookers and the press. The media frenzy that followed only added to the chaos and confusion, with sensational headlines and rampant speculation. Newspapers across the country picked up the story, each adding their own dramatic flair. The love letters, the prominent victims, and the brutal nature of the crime captivated the public's imagination. Despite the intense interest and scrutiny, the investigation faced numerous challenges. Evidence was mishandled, and the crime scene was not properly secured, leading to contamination and loss of critical clues. Attention soon turned to Frances Hall, Edward's widow, and her brothers Henry and Willie Stevens. Frances had a strong motive, jealousy and betrayal, but proving her involvement would be another matter entirely. As the investigation progressed, the case against Frances and her brothers built up. However, the evidence was largely circumstantial, and the trial that followed would be one of the most dramatic and controversial of the decade. The initial investigation was marred by missteps. Curious onlookers and the media trampled the scene, disturbing vital evidence. Despite this, the police managed to collect some critical clues, including the love letters and the different caliber bullets used in the murders. The love letters between Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills were the first major pieces of evidence. These letters not only confirmed their affair, but also suggested a deep emotional connection, potentially pointing to a crime of passion. Attention quickly turned to Frances Hall, Edward's wife, and her brothers, Henry and Willie Stevens. Frances Hall had the most apparent motive: jealousy and betrayal. Her brothers, known for their protective nature, also came under suspicion. Henry and Willie Stevens were eccentric and somewhat reclusive. Their odd behavior and inconsistent statements only fueled suspicions. Despite their claims of innocence, the public and the press were convinced of their guilt. During the investigation, various witnesses came forward, offering conflicting accounts. Jane Gibson, a pig farmer who lived near the crime scene, claimed to have seen a group of people at the site on the night of the murders. Her testimony described hearing a woman's voice crying out and seeing shadowy figures, but her credibility was questioned due to inconsistencies. Jane Gibson's account, while sensational, was fraught with discrepancies. Her testimony was inconsistent and changed several times, leading many to doubt its reliability. Despite the shaky witness testimonies, the prosecution believed that they had enough circumstantial evidence to charge Frances Hall and her brothers. In 1926, they were brought to trial in what would become one of the most sensational court cases of the decade. The trial was a media circus. Frances Hall, dressed in mourning black, played the part of the grieving widow. Her defense team argued that she was being unfairly targeted because of her social standing and the scandalous nature of the case. The prosecution faced significant challenges. Their case was built largely on circumstantial evidence and questionable witness testimonies. Without concrete proof, securing a conviction was an uphill battle. After a lengthy and dramatic trial, the jury deliberated. In the end, Frances Hall and her brothers were acquitted of all charges. The lack of definitive evidence and the strong defense strategy led to their release. The verdict shocked the public. Many believed that justice had not been served and that the true killers had walked free. The acquittal only deepened the mystery surrounding the Hall Mills murders. With the acquittal of Frances Hall and her brothers, the mystery of the Hall Mills murders deepened. Over the years, numerous theories and speculations have emerged, attempting to explain who might have killed Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills and why. One prevailing theory canters around a botched robbery. Some speculate that the couple stumbled upon a criminal act and were killed to silence them. However, the brutality of the murders and the personal nature of the wounds cast doubt on this theory. Another theory suggests that the killings were carried out by a jealous lover of Eleanor Mills. Despite her affair with Edward Hall, Eleanor was known to have other admirers. Could one of them have been driven to a jealous rage upon discovering her relationship with Hall? Eleanor's husband, James Mills, was considered a suspect by some. While he maintained his innocence, the idea of a crime of passion cannot be entirely dismissed. However, there was little evidence to support his involvement, and he was never formally charged. A more sinister theory involves the Ku Klux Klan, which had a presence in New Jersey during the 1920s. Some have speculated that Hall, known for his progressive views and inclusive church, might have angered local Klan members, leading to a violent retribution. While intriguing, this theory lacks concrete evidence. Today, the Hall Mills murders remain one of the most enduring mysteries in American true crime history. Despite the passage of time, the case continues to captivate the public, drawing both professional and amateur investigators to revisit the evidence and re-examine the suspects. The Hall Mills murders remain an enigma, a dark chapter in the history of New Brunswick that continues to captivate and confound. The questions left unanswered keep this mystery alive, inviting new generations to explore its depths. Despite countless theories and years of speculation, the truth about who killed Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills remains shrouded in mystery. Will we ever uncover the full story, or will it remain a haunting reminder of the secrets people can keep? Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of America's most intriguing unsolved cases. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more true crime stories, Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring you more in-depth investigations into the world's most compelling mysteries. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring the unknown.